All right, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, this is incredible right now. Luna is down. UST is this is crazy. It's come back a little bit, but this is absolutely crazy. Let's wow. Hang on just a moment. I'm trying to see what we got going on here. Um all right. So trying to figure out how to get my screen share going here. Um, share. Here we go. Share screen. There we go. All right. Let's get it over here. Hopefully, I've got this. I'm using StreamYard for the first time. I was using OBS. StreamYard seems just a little bit easier. Okay. So we're looking. I don't know. Doesn't like it's share my screen. Entire screen. Yep. Share. All right. Maybe we have it now. Okay. Someone said you shouldn't have a bleak headline. Look, it's a pretty bleak headline. Let's be honest. I mean, it's kind of crazy. We don't want to see, obviously, we don't want to see Luna down like this. Typically, most people don't. I mean, it's an opportunity to buy. But I want to talk about this UST peg. I mean, this is, man, this is interesting. It's fascinating to me what's going on here. I'd love to see what some of your thoughts are. Tether's at 99 cents. That's wild. That is wild. So that means it would be lower than this if Tether's down to 99 cents. Let's see. Tether. Let's see. UST. USDT. BT. Look at that. What in the world is going on? Okay, it looks like it's. This is crazy. What do y'all think's going on? Yes, Quan selling BTC crashing the market to save UST. Not necessarily. That's not actually what. I don't think that's exactly what he's doing. I don't think that's actually. I don't think that's what he's doing at all. I mean, he is talking about moving in capital. Maybe he's moving in some. Well, listen. Here's the thing. If all it takes is a few hundred million to crash Bitcoin, if that's it, we got much bigger problems. So I don't think that's what's happening. If it is, again, we got much bigger problems than that. But something definitely looks like it's going on weird right here. Let's go back to UST. Let's see if Bitcoin made any more comments. Let's try to do UST and USD. There we go. 94 cents. Whew, that's crazy. Let's see what Quan is saying. If anything. Deploy more capital. Steady lads. Yeah, that's all he's got right now so far. Let's check out some of the other influencers. UST is 16 billion, dude. Yeah, of course UST is 16 billion, but you understand that means it would have to go to zero. Like UST is at 16 billion. All it took to cause it to lose peg is probably a few hundred million. So it's not like he's, crashing the entire market. It's only down. It's 16 billion, but it's only down 6%. So I mean, you can do some math on that. It's not, billions of dollars or nothing. And if that's all it takes to crash Bitcoin, then we got bigger issues. But I don't think he's selling Bitcoin outright per se. Although you got to wonder if he's selling Luna. I mean, Luna's down a lot. You've got to wonder if they sold some Luna. Straight dive. It's pretty crazy. 15 billion of Luna. Do the math. Backed by only 15 billion of Luna. Do the math. Yeah, I get it. I'm not saying he's not selling. I mean, I get it. I don't know how you say your name, Art Canna, whatever. I get it. No doubt he could be selling some Bitcoin, but he can't be single-handedly crashing Bitcoin no more than he's selling. Yeah, curve pool was a problem. What's the deal with curve pool? I've heard several references to that. Davey, what was the issue with curve pool? Let's go look at where BTC's at right now. But by the way, here's a challenge. The whole market, the whole world. I was looking at the mainstream headlines a minute ago. Taking a look, where's that? Over here on Drudge. Stocks ugly. Netflix down 71% for the year. Snap's down 50%. Facebook's down 41%. Uber's 41%. Of course, this isn't for the year. These are, I mean, this isn't for the day. This is talking about the year. But the whole market's and it's the whole thing's going absolutely nuts. Okay, you guys gotta stop the Telegram. The whole market's going nuts right now. Elon Musk threatened possibly by Russia. That's crazy. I don't know if you guys saw that tweet yet. People are panic selling Luna, so it's a cascade effect. Absolutely, definitely some cascade effect going on. I mean, I bought Luna this morning. Probably, let's see, where are we at now? I bought Luna. It's lower than when I bought it. Oh, Bitcoin, 30,000 in Bitcoin. That's I almost bought a long position yesterday on Bitcoin. By the way, I almost did a 2.5x. I was going to test out a decentralized perpetuals exchange, and I was going to do a 2.5x on Bitcoin with a liquidation point of about 20 million. I mean, sorry, 20,000. But I guess I'm glad I didn't do it yet. I'm thinking at some point it may be a good time to start buying more Bitcoin. I haven't been adding to my HODL position yet. Just curious, anybody else buying Bitcoin today? I mean, today's the day to buy it if you're going to buy it. Holy crap. I keep thinking we're going to see a bounce here, like a much bigger bounce, and we definitely are not seeing it. Let's see what other people are saying. So there's Doquan. Let's see what Sefi is saying. Sefi's a huge Luna guy. Buying Luna on every exchange I'm on. Anyone have a let's see free UST on CB Pro? Jeez. What else we got? Sefi, there's Lunanomics. There he was. Big Luna guy. Here's my most valuable index. Please find me an asset that is up over 200% in the last year. Okay, that was his argument for Luna. I get it, but that's getting eroded quickly. This guy has enormous bets on Luna. When everything else gets crazy, sometimes it's a good idea to zoom out and look at the big picture. I don't see any one-year chart out there that is stronger than Luna and Flux. Terra is going to come out of this crash harder. Yeah, I do think it's going to survive. By the way, not financial advice. Don't be taking financial advice for YouTubers. In my private Telegram, people were saying, "Are you buying? Are you buying? Is this a good time to buy UST?" So I did make a purchase this morning of Luna, but I told him, I said, if you buy UST, I mean, obviously, if it pulls out of here, which I mean, I think it's going to pull out, but I'm not thinking it's going to pull out enough to go sell other assets to jump in. I mean, but if it pulls out of this, you're talking about a quick 6% ROI, assuming it pops out today or tomorrow. Let's see. Can you help me with crypto to buy? Nope, I can't help you with that, Ellie Money. I just bought after being out for months. That's if you're gonna do it, today's to do it. Iron Titan fiasco went to zero and it was 1 billion market cap. So 16 billion with a lot of people losing confidence in UST. Not sure it will survive. Art, again, I don't think you understand what happened with Iron Titan. It's a totally different ballgame. Iron Titan entered a death spiral and they didn't have any mechanism to stop that spiral. See, that's why Elephant Money could rule algo-stables. Well, Elephant Money is not going to rule algo-stables, Big Smoke. I mean, Elephant Money will absolutely collapse eventually. But it has an algo-stable mechanic to it, which makes it very, very interesting. All of those short-term niche ROI contracts. By the way, guys, ladies and gentlemen, don't show up in my comments posting stuff if you don't want to respond back, because I will definitely respond. But the thing about the algo-stable projects that are giving an ROI right now, even things like Piston, the newer ones, newer stuff like that, niche cryptos, that anything that can generate an ROI, even if it has Ponzi-nomics, people are going to ape into it during times of crypto weakness. No question about it. So, I mean, if you play that niche game and you know how to play that game and you've been around a while, I mean, there's going to be money to be made in those for sure. He said, Art said, "What's the difference? You burn your UST for one Luna, you sell Death Spiral, right?" No, no. The problem is they don't have the. They don't. No, it's not a Death Spiral. I mean, it could be, but it's not going to be. They don't have the same. They don't have the same mechanic in place. With the Titan mechanic, the way they burn, they do their burn differently. So it's not going to be the exact same thing, most likely. Iron Titan didn't have the when their collapse partially came because of the not the depegging of the actual dollar peg in their case. It was really it first started with the collapse of their Luna component first because it pumped way crazy high, super fast. Which those of you my channel for a while, and played it well because I knew it was going to happen. I mean, we've seen that 100 times over and over again. So anytime you see those types of coins, the and you see them pump really hard like that, they're coming for a correction. But the problem that's going to say, and I say it's a problem because I don't like it long term, but UST is going to get saved because I mean the Luna Foundation has an absolute freaking war chest. So they're going to hold. I mean, I think they're going to hold the peg. I say that, but I'm pretty sure they're going to hold the peg. But what's interesting is we're really watching well games at play because over here when it lost this peg over here, I was literally going to make a video about this whole incident before someone in my Telegram said, UST's lost peg. Because this morning I kind of said, man, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing UST lose peg because it would be a great buying opportunity for Luna. But Luna's already kind of pulled back so far, and it hasn't went down a whole lot more since this morning. But when uh, so I said this morning, I said, it'd be interesting if it lost peg because I thought it would drag Luna more than it has. Someone messaged me today, it's our peg. I suspect it's the foundation, which I don't want to see a central projects like Bean Pro, for example, and every single project that has a um, algo stable component to it, even if I know they're not long-term projects, but they're adding something unique, a unique mechanism. I like it because I think long-term, all of these projects help with the development of having a long-term, true, decentralized stablecoin because we don't have that yet, and I'm hoping we have it soon. Oh, it's bad, Todd. Thanks for telling me that. That's a pain. Okay. Todd said he's. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I don't know if it's going to come out now. Said yeah, me too. I did some of it. To do crypto to buy now. This environment, you buy whatever you're confident in. Everything's down. So, what are you most long confident in? If you don't know what to buy, or if you're too scared to buy now, then truly you have to ask yourself, what are you doing in the crypto space? Like you cannot, if you're here just because you're treating all of crypto like a casino, then that's rough. I mean, that's a hard way to play it. And it's hard to keep your emotions in check. My window update is running in the background. Let me see. No, it's not. It is not. I just sometimes my connection is going in and out for some reason. I almost didn't go live because I knew I've been having trouble with my connection to Art. So I appreciate you pointing that out. Can you guys hear me at all right now? Let me know if my sound is coming through. That is so frustrating. Let's come over here and look at Bitcoin. Coin. There are people who were saying Bitcoin will never see 30,000 again, but here we are, sitting at 30,000. And I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, if I go in and out. My internet sometimes will blink off and then it will come back and it will be just fine. As long as it's not a long-term blink, I'm good. It's almost like a weird power surge that it does periodically. Let's see what else we got going on over here. Oh, I know, bro, you bought when BTC was 60,000. It's going up and you're scared when BTC is 30,000 going down. Who are you talking about? Justify. If you like great combos, hit the like button. Thank you, Big Smoke. I appreciate that. Smash that like button. I'm not certain justifiable who you're referring to, but yeah, you can't be scared now. I mean, here's the thing: everybody's always like, "I wish I could have bought Bitcoin at 30,000." Then it's at 30,000. Then they're scared to buy it, and that's true for anything. Justify, you're exactly right. That's true for anything. Like, in order to be successful in crypto, as an investor, you have to have some sort of long-term conviction. As a trader, you also have to have some sort of long-term fundamental conviction about the overall direction of the market, because the overall direction of the market is going to always save you. So if you thought Bitcoin was a good buy at 40,000, then it's a good buy at 30,000. And what happens is, the reason you see multiple red candles is because obviously most of the people who said they wanted to buy it cheaper are at some point are panic selling, and that's just always frustrating. But in this market, in one respect, it's kind of tough. Especially it's tough for new people who just got in, and it's tough for people who talk to us has been in for a little while. People say, "Hey, what are you doing?" I literally have had people message me and comment on social media today, like personal friends. They're like, "Man, the market's down. What are you doing? What are you buying? What do you?" And I don't ever give answers on that, because it's like everything's down, but you're not panic. Of course, you like to see the numbers going up, but I don't live off of crypto. I never have. I mean, for me, I'm constantly stacking crypto, and the whole reason I earn passive income, I love the idea of having an ability to live off of it if I needed to, but it's really about finding ways to try to stack more and get ahead of my current position. So if the market's down, the market's down, and we know historically Bitcoin can go down 85, even 88%. Like, it can go down a lot every 4 years. We see that over and over again. And everybody says in every 4-year cycle, I've been in the past 4-year cycle. I witnessed the one before that because I wasn't really in crypto, but I was watching it a lot. And everybody says this time is different. This time is different. Anytime someone says this time is different, you just have to assume this time's not any different. That's just how that works. Just buy Hex, prepare for a pulse chain launch. When I told people back in November, I think it was, when I put out a video predicting Pulse Chain wouldn't launch till February, and I got so much hate. People said I was crazy, and Pulse Chain still hasn't launched. I'm looking forward to it launching. Do we have a launch date yet on it? Let me know. I mean, I went into that one, and I like what they're doing over there. I just hope it works. I just hope they go ahead and pull it off. Let's see. There was something else. Oh, there's 2 videos that's really interesting to watch if you want to be smarter than literally practically every other crypto investor. There's 2 videos that are important to pay attention to right now that really helps you understand kind of some of the underlying fundamentals of what's happening in this market overall. The first one I recommend that you watch is Ray Dalio, Changing World Order. This thing right here is incredible. Oh, by the way, this is a good video. This is the video where I actually got introduced to Ray Dalio about a year or 2 ago. Actually, 2 years ago now, because it's a 2-year-old video. If you want to know who Ray Dalio actually is, then he's worth watching this video over here, this valuetainment interview. But then if you want to understand sort of what he believes and why, where we're at right now, then I recommend you watch this video, Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. And I'll be very honest with you. Grab you something to drink. If you drink coffee, do whatever you got to do. In my case, I'd grab a cigar, get ready to watch it, because it's 43 minutes and it is not thrilling, but it is very, very interesting, and it makes so much sense. It's like, how come most people don't understand this? And it literally will make you smarter than most people in crypto. And it's an incredible video for 43 minutes long, although it doesn't need to be any longer than that, or I don't think you can make it through. Another great video that's important to watch just came out, this one right here. A lot of people have clipped up part of this video. You'll see 6-minute clips all over the internet. But come over here to Real Vision Finance, the actual YouTube channel, and watch Raul Macro's masterclass. This is an hour and a half, and it's very interesting. Now, he does throw up a bunch of like charts, and if you're not into data and stuff, and I forced myself to be into it. It's not something that I enjoy, but I forced myself to be into it. But he makes a lot of sense, and he doesn't believe, he has a little bit of an optimistic approach. As of this video coming out, he didn't believe we were headed to a full-blown recession, but he cautioned that we could, and what he would be looking for in the event that we did have a full-blown recession. But he talks about how the world's different right now. This particular guy here, Raul, he's very pro-crypto, by the way, but the dude's very, very interesting. Let's see. Someone said, have I seen Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney? Yeah, I'm very, very, very familiar with Mike Maloney. Actually, there's other videos I like better than that one, but it's a good one. I'm not familiar with Lynette Zhang, by the way. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm scrolling back up to see what some of you all were saying. Pulse chain is getting very close according to the devs. The word is middle of May. Middle of May. Okay, we're almost there. Let's go. It is better if Pulse Chain waits till market recovers before launching. Maybe. At this point, they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. I'm certain that Richard Hart thought it would be launched by now, Wild Carter. I do agree with you as far as you ideally you would prefer to launch when you're in better market conditions. But if we're entering a longer bear cycle, we could be here for many more months. Waiting to launch months from now isn't going to be any better either. So it's tough. It's tough. Delio has been predicting the next crash for the last 2 years. At some point, he will be right like a broken clock. That's not exactly right. Our that's not that's an inaccurate take on him. He believes we're headed towards a potential crash. He does not state when the crash is going to happen. He says that he thinks we're somewhere near the peak of the American imperialism, essentially, and there's going to be some shift in the world order. The challenge with trying to predict when that's going to happen is like right now, America's got all sorts of financial problems, but so does everybody else. And it really gets to a place where the rest of I don't want to bore this channel because I'm certain most people don't care enough about this, but it really has to get to a place where there's enough people saying the fundamentals of the dollar are so bad, even though we rely on the dollar, we want to opt out of using it more and more and more. And that's when it's going to get very interesting, I think. And we just got to wait until I say wait until like I'm looking forward to it because I'm not. We got to wait and see what happens with that eventually. Let's see what else we got. Crazy stuff. People should care. Keep teaching. Yeah, people should care, Casey, but they don't, unfortunately. I mean, it's just not interesting stuff. When it takes anything that takes effort stops people, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I got into crypto because this is my favorite sort of the fundamental stuff is what I understood and liked about crypto. Rethinking the dollar has a lot of good info. I'll check that one out. I'm actually writing that one down. Rethinking the dollar. No, I'm not. Hang on. Let me grab a pen. Todd, rethinking the dollar. Yeah, that's a. What's interesting is we've always had a centralized cryptocurrency. This is what's very, very interesting. We've always had a centralized currency in the world. Even when it was backed by gold, it was still centralized. Most people don't understand why the U.S. dollar went off the gold standard. It's because we ended up being in a position where we were forced to raise interest rates. And then people got nervous. Other countries got nervous and wanted to redeem their dollars for gold. And we suddenly realized, oh, we don't have enough gold to meet that debt obligation. And what's wild, if you go back and look up the speech of Nixon talking about that, he makes it sound like this positive thing, which politicians always do that. This great grand thing that we were going off the gold standard. When in reality, we were going off the gold standard because we had printed too much money and we couldn't repay back our debts. That's the kind of thing that should have sent shivers up the spine of average citizens in the world. It wouldn't ever scare the elite of the world because they actually benefit from inflation. When you own like a lot of assets, inflation is actually good for you. If you get money directly from the government, as in government contracts or government entities, or if you're another government who borrows money directly from the federal government is actually having to print money to pay you, you benefit. The person who gets the printed money first benefits most. But the average citizen should have been scared to death back in the 1970s when we went off the gold standard. But most people didn't understand it. They didn't think about it, and it's crazy. Americans ran off on the anything that takes effort. Anything that takes effort stops people. Yeah, pretty much 100%. Anything. That's why a lot of people. That's the challenge with people getting into crypto, right? That they struggle to get into crypto mainly because, well, they struggle to get in because there's a little bit of a learning curve. And so many times people 93, we are going down, ladies and gentlemen. This is not getting any better. That's wild. I just shifted my screen. Hopefully it shows up for y'all. Looks like there's a little bit of a delay there by about 60 seconds or so. Man, 93 cents. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. Let's see what happens. I really thought I would come on here live and we might get to see a great bounce up. That's what I thought was going to happen. But it has not happened. It absolutely has not happened. Yeah, I'll tell you what, similar to Time Wonderland. That's not similar to Time Wonderland. Cascading, maybe, for sure. I understand what you mean. I mean, I see the similarity there. But what's interesting right now, there's a protocol called Kajira. Let's go take a look at that real quick. That thing. Is it Kajira? This protocol is very interesting. And I'll admit, I was in this protocol for a minute, and I kind of got out of it because I was tired of holding forever. Someone want to buy cheap UST? Yeah, you can. Where's it at? Not earn. Isn't it Kajira Blue? Oh, wait a minute. Kajira. Is it Orca? Nope, not Orca. What am I doing wrong here? I'm missing something. Oh, here we go. Check this out. So this is a really cool. What? I didn't know how to. Look at that. I got more B Luna. I forgot I had any funds over here. I clearly had some funds over here. That's awesome. I'll be withdrawing this later. I got it at a 4% discount too. Look at that. So this is a very neat protocol where you can come over here and you can basically stake your AUST or UST, and you basically stake it down below the current market price. And the if B Luna drops, or Luna drops, sorry, if Luna drops, you can get it at a discount. Essentially, it's from the Anchor protocol. It's the liquidations that exist on Anchor, I guess, and Mars and Mirror. I guess this is new. I actually haven't been in this protocol for a while because I thought it was interesting, but Luna was going nuts when I saw it, when I came across it, and I kept thinking we'd get a pullback, and we didn't for a while. But today, I mean, people were over here probably getting 10% discounts, 12% discounts, and it just got, because I'm certain there's been a ton of liquidations on Anchor. I started out, I have some funds on Anchor, and I had borrowed against my collateral, and I was at about a 50. Well, last week sometime I was at about a 40% borrow ratio, which is pretty conservative. Today, when I added some Luna or B Luna into Anchor, I was at like 90% collateralization, meaning I was almost going to get liquidated. And I thought, man, some of those people Kajira are doing well right now because people are getting liquidated like crazy. Didn't the French battleship anchored at New York City have something to do with coming off the gold standard too? Don't know about that, Gabrielle, but that's very interesting. Someone wants to buy cheap UST. Yep. Kajira, ladies and gentlemen, very interesting protocol, and I'll tell you why it's interesting. It's a decentralized way to help stop essentially a cascading event on Luna, particularly. People basically, you come in here and you basically stake, and you're like, hey, I want to get right here 7% premium. So you come here, you're like, I want to get Luna at a 7% premium. And when people get cascaded, basically, cascade is the wrong word. When people get liquidated, basically, you can start getting discounted Luna. What's very interesting about this is right here, everybody's at the 25%. Well, normally, the tall candle's way over here. There's $31 million at a 25% premium right here. That's crazy to think about. That's wild. In AUST, let's see what we are in. I didn't know if it'd be different USD. Oh, wait a minute. AUST, 31 million in AUST, nothing in UST. That is wild. Money Masters. Todd, you have watched all of the dollar documentaries for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, smash that like button. Let's see. 30,000 on Bitcoin. Where's Luna right now? Let's check it out. Are you all buying? And if you're buying, let me know in the comments. What are you buying? We're in the live stream. What exactly are you buying? Luna 47. So it's popped up a little bit. 46. Okay, so is the peg recovering? Is that why? The peg's not really recovering. But Luna's recovering a little bit. See, this is awesome. When you buy on these red candles and it goes back up, that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. Crypto Talk said he's bought Hex and Hedron. Huh? What else? Anybody else buy anything? Will you go on camera with no shirt on? Yeah, that's cute. I've heard that. I think. Someone wants to buy cheap USD. Okay. Hex is safe to buy right now. You guys are killing me. Pumping Hex. Let's see. What is Hex? Let's see. Yeah, Hex is down too. I guess. I mean, guys, Most people wouldn't want to buy that chart, but I guess if you want to have a chance to buy it at all-time lows like everything else, now's the time to buy it. Now, if Pulse Chain might pump Hex like crazy if it rolls out, like truly. Hex is the only pure market. Okay, we're going a bit far now. Except Hex had to be pumped by the origin address at the beginning, whether you like it or don't like it. That's actually what did in fact happen. Now, everybody criticized Richard Hart for that, but he ended up being right. They ended up being wrong, at least so far. Someone said they're looking for Todd's looking for entries on DAG. I've been looking at DAG a little bit. LTX, Track, AVAX, BNB, Cake, and QNT, and probably some stronger. Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking at Near earlier. Near's pulled back a significant amount too. I wonder how much Luna has to do with Near pulling back, because everybody was buying Near because they were talking about launching, basically copying, almost not quite, some differences, but copying some of the mechanics of Luna. And then people who were like, "Oh, I missed out on the Luna pump last year, so let me get in on the Near pump." Hopefully, myself included, I bought some, but just a small amount compared to what I have in Luna. And what I so a lot of people bought Near, but I saw that Near was down a good chunk too. Let's see. Near. Um well, Near's not actually all that horrible compared to some of these other ones. We're on the daily. I purchased here and here, as you can see, by the way. I did make a purchase today. Didn't I? No, no, no. I went to make a purchase and didn't. I probably should have. Hedron. That's it's connected to Hex in some way, I believe. Someone else in the comments can let you know what Hedron is. All right, let's go see. Sephi said anything else? I'm at war. Be right back. Dude is buying. By the way, this is guys got to be one of the most prolific tweeters there is. Bringing up Luna. Buying. I'm at war. Be right back. Dude is just an animal. You have my sword. Hope you're winning. Soon I'll be selling stocks to buy Luna. We got your back. Kuji bid stacking back up. So that's where we're at a while ago. The Kujira app. Where are they at? Let's refresh this just to see. There's 35,000 there. I wonder why anyone would be. I guess they're holding UST because they expected it to go back up. I thought, why hold UST right now? Victor, I don't know if you've been on my channel very long. I don't have a problem with Hex. I have a problem when you repeat it over and over again like a broken drum. It's a pathetic way of marketing. Um, Wild Carter, that was all. Yeah, great point there. The problem with Near is that people are buying USDD on Tron instead of USDN on Near because of the 25 to 35% APY. No, yeah, I think you're probably right about that. The challenge with and so the challenge with Tron is obviously we know that 25 to 35% APY is not going to last forever, but in the DGen space, sometimes we just get it while we can. So I get that. What could be interesting about Near if USDD works, USDN. I mean, if they just maintain, sometimes you just got to run the race longer than everybody else. You just got to survive longer than everybody else. So Near may end up being kind of a long term play if it works out at all. I mean, it could end up being a long term play, but they're going to be doing some yield farming, and we may see a pump on the Near coin, Near token, whatever. once they start doing yield farming. We'll just have to wait and actually see what happens. Do, do, do. Should we rotate into blue chips, bear market, washing DeFi out? That's up to you, Jude. That's totally up to you. I mean, I think here's the thing. I'll tell you exactly how I was going to make a video talking about how I play the bear market. But for me, when it comes to the bear market, I don't get. I mean, I've already said this. I don't get too crazy nervous. I mean, I've already seen this once, right? I've already seen us go up to, whatever we went to the last bull cycle, over $30,000, and then went all the way down below 10, went all the way down to 3,000 and something. And I actually had a sizable bet that we could break 1,000 back then, and everybody was saying no, 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 but they all said we weren't going to break 15,000, then we weren't going to break 10, and we weren't going to break 5, and that sort of thing. So we got all the way down to, I don't remember what it was, $3,600 for Bitcoin. Well, that's substantial. When you talk about whatever we were at, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000 in that bull cycle, maybe it was 27,000 we were in. But when you see it pull back that far, I mean, that's just incredible. So we've seen this before. Those of us who've been around a while, every 4 years, Bitcoin collapses. Every 4 years. That cycle has been the case since its inception. So there's no reason to think that it couldn't happen again, specifically if we get some strong regulations. I don't know if you saw Kim.com earlier today. Let me see. Go back to Twitter. Oh, this is, if you've never seen the documentary on Kim.com, it's worth it. It's a very interesting documentary to watch. But he put out this tweet that said, where's it at? Oh, someone posted. I thought it was. He's all frustrated with the US, by the way, if you don't know that. Oh, here we are. Wonder why crypto, 19 hours ago. Wonder why crypto has been tanking for a while on zero news. Well, first of all, it's not zero news. So he's talking to kind of an unsophisticated audience, because what he's about to reference here, there's actually been a lot of news about it. Those in the know about upcoming U.S. government crypto regulations are selling first. Here's what's coming. So this is a guy, just so you know who Kim.com is. He is a fugitive of the U.S. government. Now, with that being said, I'm not saying he should or shouldn't be. I'm just saying he is one. I'm not saying this to discredit what his thesis of what he's saying. I'm saying when he acts like he has inside knowledge, he probably doesn't have any inside knowledge. But he's saying that we should be expecting to see a ban on all USD pegged stablecoin. I think he's probably right on that. Restrictions on crypto use. I think he's 100% right. KYC requirements for all. Yeah, I think more stringent KYC requirements than we have even now in banking. I think we're going to see that. A big push for the US government coin. That's 100% accurate. It's already happened. So none of this is like new news. All of this has been talked about before. I mean, there's been news headlines. I've covered it on my channel, my crypto news segments. These are the news headlines that I pay attention to. So even last year, I was talking about what price could Bitcoin hit, and I said, could Bitcoin hit this? Now we were in the fall of last year, and I said, could we see $100,000 Bitcoin in 2022? And I said, yeah, it's possible, but one of the big things we have to look out for is coming regulations. Well, these are all the regulations I'm referring to. Ban on USD peg stablecoins, I think that is literally a guarantee to happen. And the reason I think that it's a guarantee, again, not financial advice, but the reason I think it's a guarantee, understand a peg stablecoin, we're talking about centralized stablecoins. We're talking about USDT, USDC. The reason I think this is going to happen is because they're going to have their own central bank digital dollar. When they have their central bank digital dollar, just like they're not going to allow you and me to print US dollars, they're not going to allow anyone else to print anything else that could be essentially a counterfeit to their dollar. They don't want you to create a derivative product that holds value of their dollar. I mean, that basically would create massive inflation in the world, and they don't want you to be able to do that. And they want to be able to control the money supply. They don't want you to be able to control the money supply. They want to be able to do things like reverse inflation. And there's a lot of reasons for why that could make sense. They want to do things like automatic taxation. Automatic taxation is a very interesting concept that doesn't get enough, that doesn't really get talked about enough. This is a concept where taxes could be paid automatically, or they could be paid. Imagine on tax day, instead of you having to file taxes, the government could run a form of chain analysis, and within, sometime during the day, you don't have to worry about it. They would go ahead and take the money you owed out of your bank account, or vice versa. They could automatically send your refund, which is probably what they would do, but they would be taking money out all along automatically without you having to pay taxes. They would be doing it all the time, and they would be able to do it directly from your bank account. Now, the reason that the government would want to do this is because if you ever look up the government's effectiveness at collecting taxes, no matter how high the tax rates are, there's a certain threshold percentage, and if I remember right, it's quite low, like maybe 30 something percent or 40 something percent. It's the max amount of taxes that are legally owed to the government that they are ever able to collect, no matter the tax rate. Think about that. Meaning they can't catch everybody who's cheating on their taxes, and they can't catch everyone who's laundering money. And so there's a significant portion of tax revenues that by law should go to the government that the government never ever gets. So who ends up paying it, by the way? Average citizens. So if they were able to do taxes through chain analysis and they were able to make them almost automatic, you don't have to say automatic, they would be automatic, then they would collect 100% of their tax revenues. Now, I would like to think maybe they would lower everybody's tax revenues if they were able to do that. But instead, the government would probably find really good ways to spend that money, and they would tell whatever political class that they needed to win over, that's the political class they would promise money to, and that's where they would expect to get it from. They would claim that there's a surplus, and they would expect to spend that money from there. That's typically how politicians work. So they're not going to want all that to say, I'm on the phone a bunny trail. They're not going to want a US dollar stablecoin competitor. They're just not. Restrictions on crypto use, that's right along there with the KYCs. Restrictions on crypto use, you can't spend money here, you can't spend money there. I don't know if you all saw it, but I can't think of the name of it right now. I want to say, is it BitCipher? Someone put it in the comments. BitCipher or whatever. The U.S. government basically just sanctioned a private company that was running a Bitcoin mixing service. Now, the difference is Tornado.cash is an Ethereum mixing service, and they can't sanction Tornado.cash. I mean, you can sanction it, but it's irrelevant. It runs independently because it's a smart contract. It can't be stopped. If someone wants to wash Ethereum through there, if they get money, illicitly, and they choose to run it through Tornado.cash to keep the transactions private or to try to hide it, they can do that. The individuals who created Tornado.cash are probably never going to get in trouble for it. They created it a long time ago to help keep transactions private, not because they didn't want the government to necessarily be able to see what everybody had and to track it. Now, I think there's going to come a time where if you create something like that, it would be illegal. That's why I think in my mind, we should be in a hurry to see true decentralization as quickly as possible. And a decentralized stablecoin would be necessary because I believe that we could be having a central bank digital dollar definitely within 5 years, maybe within 3 years, possibly within 1 or 2 years. KYC requirements for all. Yeah, we're going to definitely see some KYC requirements. Absolutely. We're going to see KYC requirements like we've never seen before. Like they could go as far as people are like, they can't stop crypto. And I always find that frustrating because it's true. They cannot stop the technology. And I like that because the technology is there when citizens choose to peacefully protest economics. When people say, hey, I want to opt out of this system, and they want to do it en masse. But we are years from people wanting to do that. But the technology is there so people can make that choice should they ever choose to. But in the meantime, in the short term, what can happen and what probably will happen is they will make it illegal to transact in cryptocurrency from person to person, or they will say that you as an individual are going to be responsible for KYCing every single transaction that comes to you. Well, that's just a burden too great that most people are not going to want to do. And it would be done specifically to slow down, inhibit, create friction to a crypto economy. And I definitely believe we could see something like that. Big push for the U.S. government coin. Yep, that's yeah, that goes right along with number one. Let me see what you all are saying in the comments. Yeah, it's true. Hex can't be regulated. That is good. Let me go back up. Hang on. Man, if that happened again, I'd be set for life. What were we talking about? The Todd staking on Trader Joe currently around 28 to 30% today. Trader Joe's the decentralized exchange for AVAX. If you're not familiar with that, I think it's Trader Joe XYZ. Todd, I'm not certain what you meant by that. If what happened again, you'd be set for life. Let me keep going. Victor said USDC is the CD. Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope USDC is not the central bank digital currency, because that would mean what's worse than the government being in charge of the money supply is a single private business being in charge of it. And USDC is currently run by a private business. So that would be horrible if that was the case. But the USDC, no doubt the federal government is paying attention to the USDC, and it is centralized. DAI has no admin keys. I recommend it. The problem with DAI is it's collateralized by USDC. So that's why I don't like DAI. I mean, of the stable coins that are the oldest, DAI would be my favorite. It's the least of a problem, but it still has, I mean, it still is a problem. Hex is also safe. Hex can't be regulated. That's true. Luna up 20% in 20 minutes. Let's take a look at that. Where are we at with Luna? I keep having to go to USD since US. Oh, look at that. Let's go. I definitely bought in the 40s this morning, so that's a good thing. Go, go, go. Let's see what else we got going on. What do I think of KDA and ICP? Not much. Like, I mean, meaning as in I don't know enough about them. KDA I've just heard of. ICP I'm not even sure what you're talking about there. BTC is classed as property. It's really DeFi that is up in the air. Yeah, but BTC is classed as property, but you have to ask yourself why. And by the way, BTC is only classed as property through the IRS. I mean, currently the SEC is, fighting XRP because they're trying to say that it's not property, that it's an unregistered security, and all this stuff. I mean, like, there's government entities oftentimes classify BTC in the way that is most favorable for them. So, I mean, it's, yeah. USDT is going back, gaining ground. Let's check it out. UST, I mean. 94 cents. We're still at 94. It went down to, think about it, just in this 93 cents. Okay, well, we got to see where it's going to go. Let's keep gaining ground. Victor, you said Identity Block put out a video on it 12 hours ago and connected the dots, referring to what? Near is a big unlock coming May 11th to 12th. That might be why the price is dropping for sure, Kid Kai. But the question is, who's getting unlocked? That would be interesting. USDC it is. If BTC went to 3,000. Oh, man, if BTC goes to 3,000, I haven't brought in fresh USDC for a while. I'm sorry, USD for a while. But if we start seeing going below 10,000, I will definitely start bringing in funds. Like, you have no idea. If we go to $3,000 Bitcoin, I mean, I'll be bringing in four-figure funds every single week for as long as there's liquidity in any asset I have, probably. Because unless the government finally passes some sort of regulation. Again, we see, in my opinion, again, this isn't financial advice, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, that means don't listen to something I say, buy something. It doesn't go well. And you're like that YouTuber said, you were just told it's not financial advice. So if you take financial advice when you were told it wasn't financial advice, there used to be a song, Here's Your Sign. Here's the challenge is, I believe that, well, with Bitcoin dropping, as long as there's no permanent government regulations, because listen, I absolutely operate under the belief that in the short term, we may see, in the short term, I just got a notification, Bitcoin down 4%. We may see the crypto market get obliterated. If what Kim.com is saying, if what he believes to be happening, and I believe this is, I mean, I think this is better than a 50-50 shot that these things happen. Ban of the all US dollar all centralized, peg stable coins, restrictions on crypto asset, KYC requirements for all, big push for US government coin. I think it's greater than a 50% chance that all of those things happen. And if those things happen, then we may see a crypto winter unlike any other. Like, I mean, we could see sub $1,000 Bitcoin again, and less, lower. I mean, it could get demolished because they would make it literally the only people that would hold it, own it, and use it would be essentially a hobbyist. Nobody else is going to see it. I mean, most of your exchanges would be put out of business. Now, we're talking about the absolute worst possible case scenario. And I always invest knowing in the back of my mind that worst case scenario is possible, but also understanding that it may not play out that way. So I'm always sort of investing with a double mindset. My long-term foundational belief is that long-term crypto wins, meaning even if we hit that crypto winner, I believe government's track records show that eventually they are going to screw it up. And at some point, citizens of the world are going to say, I'm worried about either overtaxation or overinflation, which both are a form of tax. And therefore, I would choose to opt into an asset that is not easy to get into, that may be frowned upon or made illegal by the government. Keep in mind, it's illegal to drive 56 miles an hour, and every one of you have done that before. So I would rather do that and take that risk and have a better shot at preserving some sort of wealth, even if the price is volatile. Same reason people buy gold and silver and stuff today. Of course, crypto is more volatile than gold and silver, but those assets are still quite volatile as well over time. So when people say, I would rather hold that, and they would probably buy precious metals too at that time, but I would rather hold Bitcoin or I'd rather hold Ethereum or whatever than leave my money in a bank account, even though the government makes it difficult or says that it's illegal for me to own it. I believe that we'll come to a time where humans around the world will start to come to that realization. And the reason I say that is because governments historically mismanaged currency, mismanaged monetary policy. Every major, we talked about this before in our private Telegram, but every major without fail, every major economic power has eventually failed for one of two reasons. Either they got to the point that they couldn't afford their empires and they were eventually conquered, or they were just conquered outright through war. And oftentimes it's because they couldn't afford their empires or couldn't afford to protect their empires. So it's almost always through some sort of economic collapse, and it's almost always caused by, the governments. I mean, go back to Rome. Look at what the emperors did. I mean, they literally started debasing their currency to pay the military, which that didn't work. Their military, their soldiers. Of course, that didn't work long term either. But if you look at the collapse of Rome, that's literally part of the reason it collapsed. They were spending more than they were bringing in, period, in taxes or revenue, whatever. So this always happens. This always happened in history. But this is the only time in history. This is the only time in history that we've had a technology or a vehicle where average citizens could say, I don't need to rely on the government for creation of money in order to have any of it. I don't have to rely. I have a vehicle that I could use and transact with in a digital way across the globe very affordably, still be able to transfer wealth, still be able to trade wealth, still be able to carry on economic activity. Even if the government said citizens of the world couldn't do it, citizens of the world could still opt to do it if they were willing to take that risk. And I just believe that one day, eventually, that's going to be the case out of necessity. Now, I would like to think that I'm not going to live through those times because it's not going to be pleasant per se, but I think it's absolutely possible. Let's see. You guys are talking away. I love it. Let's go. Would you be interested in doing a review of our project, Umami Finance on Iridium? Maybe. I would have to look at your project, Neo. If you're okay with me being objective, if you're okay letting my audience know that it's sponsored content, then we may be able to talk. Email me, realcryptowealth on YouTube at Gmail. Fiat currencies can be classed as paper printed from thin air. Yeah, pretty much. Wild Carter says it seems like LFG reserves wallet containing 45,000 Bitcoin has just been emptied. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Toss is classed as property so they can criminalize your possessions of it if they deem you unworthy of owning it. Russian sanctions oligarchs' property theft style. That's very interesting, Todd. No one's talking about that. Those Russian oligarchs, what's happening to their Bitcoin? That is, Todd, you're a genius. That I have not even thought about that. That is very, very fascinating. Let's do a quick price check. Where we're at on the charts. Luna's at $50. Man, here's what's happening. This is whale games. Someone is literally doing a coordinated attack. And it could be some hedge fund somewhere. It could be a single whale somewhere. But there's somebody doing a coordinated attack on Luna right now. And if you remember, well, you may not know about this, but there is actually a bet, $1 million bet right now between Do Kwon, right here. Let's see, Do Kwon, right here. Do Kwon, who's like the CEO slash founder, whatever, of the Luna, the LFG Luna Guard Foundation, or whatever it's called. He basically has $1 million bet with another guy who said a couple months back, he said that he would bet $1 million that Luna would be less expensive a year from that day than it was right then. And Daquan basically, someone said, "Hey, I'll bet you $100,000." Daquan's like, "I'll take that bet." Then someone come back and said, "I wish you would bet more. Let's bet $1 million." So he said, "I'll take that bet." So this guy's in for $1.1 million. That Luna is actually going to be priced higher than it was, a couple months back, which I think was like probably $80 or $90 or something, just going off of memory. So you have to think, could it be? I mean, the guy had $1 million to put in escrow, and it was a very public Twitter spat, and they put it in escrow. So he had $1 million to put in escrow. So you got to ask yourself, could he be associated with what's going on right now? We've seen this happen before. Hedge fund managers that have done this before. There's a famous incident with Bill Ackerman, a hedge fund manager, who did this 3-hour talk calling this company a scam, and he gave a whole 3-hour proposal. And I was actually very familiar with the mechanics of that company. I had actually been hired to do some training for a sales organization inside that company, and I remember thinking, dude, what you're saying sounds really good, except based on the laws that you're quoting, like they've never been interpreted that way. And it sounded very good, very legit. It sounded like this company was doing all sorts of things wrong. Come to find out, he was shorting the stock the whole time, which you would think that should be illegal, but I guess it wasn't. And then another hedge fund manager, I can't think of his name, Carl Icahn. Carl Icahn came in and basically was buying the company stock, as I guess him and Bill Ackerman had a axe to grind with each other. Long story short, Bill Ackerman loses a ton of money in the long run, and he ended up having to reverse his positions to cover them, and he lost a ton of money. So I can't help but wonder, is something like that happening right here? I mean, this is happening in crypto, and is somebody trying to? Because all it would take for Luna to collapse and UST to collapse, like totally collapse, like Iron Finance style collapse, would take some sort of a attack that could keep driving the price down. And the challenge that Do Kwon has right now, if that is happening, the challenge that he has, because he's literally trying to defend Peg right now, the challenge that he has is very public, the funds he has access to. Unless someone else comes out of the woodwork with funds, it's very public what he has access to. So if somebody else feels like, it's literally like a game of poker. If they think that they have access to more funds than he does, which you would think they would have to think that if they were going to, if that's what's happening right here, you would think the opponents, if you will, to Luna UST would have to feel like they have more funds to drive price down than what Do Kwon or the Luna Foundation would have available to defend the peg. It's just, I don't know, something's very interesting about that. But in the meantime, we got to figure out how to play this if we're going to play it. I chose to buy some Luna today, and if we had not been in a bear market right now, then if we hadn't been in a bear market, this would have happened. But had we not been in a bear market right now, it would have been very tempting to throw some funds at UST because I think it's going to recover, but there's no guarantee. I mean, we're literally seeing whale wars take place right now. Let's see what else. Jude says this is USA specific, but other nations like New Zealand will still allow DeFi, crypto, etc. Maybe, except the U.S. banking laws are some of the only banking laws that have the ability to extend international like none other. So just maybe. Currently, New Zealand has to use the U.S. dollar when they want to buy oil. I mean, you understand the U.S. dollar, when international citizens say that they're insulated because this is only to the U.S., like, you have no idea how far the long arm of Uncle Sam is. I mean, the main reason Saudi Arabia is an ally of the U.S., and you never hear the U.S. talk about Saudi Arabia, what they do to, I mean, their whole human rights stuff is worse than almost any other country. Maybe except for China, maybe except for Iran, maybe. But you never hear the U.S. government talking about it because before we went off the U.S. dollar, before we went off the gold standard and U.S. dollar became the world reserve currency, part of the agreement is that we would always provide basically support, military support for Saudi Arabia. In exchange, Saudi Arabia, largest producer of oil, would promise to only sell oil in US dollars. So if you ever see a news headline that the Saudi kingdom is talking about selling oil outside of US dollars, that's a very interesting development. And because of that, it really forces the rest of the world, at the very least at a political level, to want to play nicely. Particularly when you see that the US government, when they sanctioned Russia, they actually sanctioned assets, Russian assets of the US government, something that had never been done before. And basically, they sanctioned dollar accounts that the Russian government was saving specifically to be able to have in the event of sanctions. They wanted to be able to, if their own currency devalued, they wanted to have US dollars, and they put it in accounts that were considered safe from sanctions theoretically, because it's kind of like when Switzerland started breaking all their some of their banking privacy rules, and people thought that would never happen. Well, that's exactly what happened in the U.S. And I covered on my channel one of my cryptocurrency news like that. I mean, there are governments around the world that had to pay attention to that and be like, "Whoa, how safe are our government funds that are denominated in dollars?" Because most governments, if they have reserves, they are denominated in dollars or dollar assets like treasury bonds or whatever. So you have to ask yourself, you're like, well, if the US government gets upset at us, how likely are they to play monkey business with our reserve assets? I mean, that's crazy to think about. It's not something average citizens think about every day. And it's not something that you need to think about every day, but it's something that is worth at least being aware of. That's why decentralization matters. What about Jeff Foxworthy? What about him? Bro, you're aware of the near unlock coming in a few days. Yes, someone else just mentioned that above. All markets are manipulated from the money printer. Absolutely. Jude says Bitcoin standard. He talks at length about emptiness falling and why BTC is the future. Yes, correct. I need to check that out. I think you mean a Bitcoin standard. You're talking about YouTuber, I think. Bitcoin is the last chance for freedom. Gosh, I hope that's not the case. Pulse chain is coming. Where will you be? Okay, here we go again. Pulse chain. Yep. All right, guys. Yep. Pulse is good. Good quality stream, bro. Keep it up. I'm glad you think so, Gabriel. Thank you so much. Guys, I have no problems with Hex, but stop promoting it so much. Jesus. Sorry, I already hit the dislike. That's okay. The book, I appreciate you hitting the dislike out of the way. It actually helps the algorithm in the long run. And when you hit the dislike, it prevents my videos from showing up for you again, which is obviously good because you don't like to see them. That's awesome. But it shows that I have controversial content, and for some people, and it is algorithm. That's not a bad thing. There's the same reason I did my first XRP video. I did it with the intention of getting dislikes. I ended up getting 80 something dislikes. You should go look at that video. It's still up. It's awesome. I still get views on it. No, it's okay, Dangerous Times. I have legitimately hit dislike and then unhit dislike on video streams before, 1000%. Because I was like, oh, I guess I kind of like part of this. All right, where are we at? 90. See, we're going back down. 93 cents. Okay, so listen, admittedly, I really thought when we saw this big red candle on the 4-hour chart, I really thought, let's go look at other time frames. I really thought it was going to bounce hard, and it has not. Oh, sorry, over here. It has not. Where are we at? 1 hour. Look at this. Okay, maybe. Max Chewy says, I wonder if it will be like Iron Finance. It if it's like Iron Finance, I don't think so. But if it's like Iron Finance, that's gonna be crazy. But I don't think so. I actually think they're gonna recover. Yeah, I appreciate Dangerous Times. That's cool. I think it's gonna recover, but it doesn't look good right now. I mean, that's the thing. You have to be willing to, as an investor, we kind of have to be willing to make bets when they're unpopular to make. Like the whole idea of buying when something is down means that most people agree with the fact that you're buying it. Most people are sellers, or the price wouldn't be down. And people don't think about that. So the challenge is most people are comfortable in groupthink. Like we're comfortable when most people agree with our decisions, when most people agree with what we're doing. One of the things that recently that frustrated me when we had this recent, healthcare worldwide thing going on, and we had this whole mass thing going on airplanes. There was one, and it was probably just one airplane. They just happened to catch that one shot. But when the pilots basically said the mandate for masking had ended, and everybody took off their mask and like woo woo, and I'm like, wait a minute, there were that many of you that didn't want to wear a mask, and you all just chose to comply because you chose to comply. I mean, what happened a few minutes before and a few minutes after? And I thought, oh, it's so disturbing. Like, it's okay to be independent. It's okay to disagree. There are people right now. I have so much respect for people who continue to wear masks even though nobody else is, because I'm like, you know what? Good for you. At least you have some sort of conviction in your belief. Now, where your foundational belief comes from matters, and obviously, I don't know where that comes from, and that's okay. But good for you for being able to be independent. It's okay that nobody else around you wears a mask. You feel like it's necessary. Good for you. Um, Someone said price manipulation leverage. There are moments where you wonder if these are the times to buy, and I can't remember the protocol that came back up. Unlike iron, um, what was it? Well, here's the thing. DAI lost its peg at one point in time, and UST lost its peg, but it hasn't lost it to this degree. And there's a lot of people that said this wouldn't happen. There's always fanboys and moon boys that say, oh, this will never happen. This will never happen. And it makes me nervous to use words like never or forever, those absolutes, because something can always happen. Something can always happen. Tomb. Okay. Yes, but the thing about Tomb is Harry what's his face being the benefactor behind Tomb. Brad Wilson, shout out, said being fearful is not good. Absolutely. Man, ladies and gentlemen, on my channel, I always talk about trying to be objective as best we can. Try to be objective. Look at the good, look at the bad, even a project you love. And the problem, if I have a problem with YouTube as a whole, it's that it's really more entertainment than anything. Like there are smart people who are smarter than me. And I like the idea of having a collection of ideas. And it's so challenging because I think there are people who are smart enough to say, here's what I love about this project, here's what I don't like about this project, but they're all biased to the degree they're invested in a project and they don't want to say anything negative. And I do get that. We don't nobody wants to see our projects go down. But fundamentally, I want to see crypto do well long term. I want to see average people do well long term. I believe in this technology. So when you hear me talk about a project, even if I'm invested in a project, I'll say that this is what I don't like about it. Now I'm invested in it, and this is why. This is what I like about it. But there are things I don't like about it. And if I can't find anything that I don't like about a project, I might not even invest in it because it doesn't make sense. There's always something that you should be able to see that that isn't positive for some reason, or especially when you're talking about developing space. Hell, if nothing else, don't like the fact that it's got a small market cap. There's something that's if you can accept the worst case scenario and still purchase, that's 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 how you do your own research and make good sound decisions long term. Tether hit 92%. I think he's talking about before. Mr. Kwan is behind this. You're exactly right. Max Chewy. That's exactly why I think that. I don't think he would have succeeded if he wasn't behind it. That's what I was saying earlier. I don't love the fact that UST is not yet decentralized. The Quan is literally intervening right now. Now, there's supposed to be some developments that's taking place, some smart contracts that are going to be put in place that will be able to do some of these functions in the future. But the bigger a protocol is, the harder it is for it to depeg as well. So that it's like the idea being that they're centralized for now, and hopefully they become decentralized in the future. One cool thing about Daquan and Luna, those of you who are not familiar, the Chai app, I think it's called, that app, I've seen interfaces with it, and I actually had a lady at my house who was like a friend of a friend. And I say lady, she was younger than I am. She's like in her 20s, but she was from South Korea, and she was asking me questions about crypto, and ironically, she wanted to know like the real meaty stuff, not like tell me what to buy. Like, why is this important? What's interesting? What is a blockchain? How can it not be, messed with? Why is it secure? That sort of thing. She wanted to know good stuff. I was like, man, I like this conversation. But we were talking about Luna, and I was explaining the best I could in a simple way, the UST and the Luna mechanic and kind of how it worked. And I said, you said you're from Korea. Are you familiar with an app called Chai? Because you see stuff on the internet you don't necessarily know. I mean, they could tell me anything about South Korea. I'm not there. I don't speak the language, so I could be prone to believe it if it's confirmation bias. And she said, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "What?" And so the great thing about the Chai app is people interact with it. Imagine a version of like Cash App, except it's in South Korea. People interact with it. They don't realize they're interacting directly with the blockchain. That's fascinating. That's talk about being user friendly. Crypto, one thing crypto can always stand to be is a little bit more user friendly. Um, who was the guy you showed who said U.S. government will ban stablecoins? That would be Kim.com. He used to own Mega Upload. That's what his whole story is about. If you go to YouTube, there's a whole documentary on Kim.com. It's kind of a fun read. He's always going after the U.S. government for stuff. Where's it at? He lives in New Zealand, by the way. At least that's where he used to live. Right here. Kim.com, 20 hours ago. I should follow that guy just because he's entertaining. Tether's just fine. Trump came on peg. I'll be at a newer project currently at 84 cents. It's not shocking that it's down to 84 cents. I still can't figure out. I own the elephant token, and I owned it because the mechanic that was in place was somewhat similar. There was a mechanic in place when people went into Stampede, Zach, that it created a similar sort of a relationship between Luna and UST. So I'm like, I'm going to play the higher risk play here because the elephant should pop off. But then after the project got exploited, the mechanics that have changed, I'm not so certain that they support elephant the same. I'm not fully understanding those mechanics yet. I need to go back and try to look into that a little bit more. Because the previous peg was a little the way it worked, it kind of defended the peg of Trunk a little bit better previously, I think. That it looks like they're trying to let the free market hold the peg. If that's the case, that's never going to work. Should I swap my stablecoins to UST since it will probably recover for a quick buck or not? Here's what I can tell you. If you think it's going to recover, it's a high risk play. If you think it's going to recover, then yes. If you think it's going to recover. If you don't think it's going to recover, then obviously no, because it's going to collapse. So you have to ask yourself, what do you think is going to happen? Yes, Jason said that Tether hit 92 cents and survived. That is absolutely correct. It did hit 92 cents and survive. That was a long time ago. But the reason, what happened after it survived, so here's the problem if you don't know. After that, up until then, Tether was not collateralized with USDC. After that, I believe that's the time that it suddenly became collateralized with USDC, which sucks because that suddenly made it less decentralized. I'm sorry. I'm getting Tether mixed up with DAI. Sorry. I apologize. 2017 Tether hit 11.92 cents. Okay. Nothing is decentralized. Pseudo geek. What do you mean by that? That's not true. What do you mean nothing is decentralized? Zach says, yeah, that's right. Wasn't it a ratio elephant to trunk 75-25 that paid out? Yeah, it was, Zach, you're right. It was a 75 to trunk, 25 to elephant, but it was something to do with Stampede and Roll, the way that it was building up liquidity. And essentially, if I understood it correctly, it was creating small buys. If you remember the chart, it would kind of like, elephant would kind of tick up in these little, until it started going a little bit parabolic. But the reason it would tick up is because as people were going into Stampede and stuff, the smart contract, if I understand correctly, was buying elephant as well along the way. And that was very interesting. Like, that was really interesting. And now there's an elephant treasury now. Stampede somehow supports the elephant treasury, but I think the mechanic is different. And I think that when the mechanic's different, it may change the dynamic. Now I'm still holding the exact same bag of elephant. I haven't sold one yet. I'm still waiting, and I wouldn't sell unless I truly felt conviction in what I'm saying right now. What I'm expressing are some of my concerns, but I don't fully know yet. I need to go and try to look at it and see, because you always are trying to figure out what's going to happen. In the DeFi space, not the DeFi space, because Ethereum can be considered DeFi sometimes. In the degen DeFi space, and when we talk about cottage projects with these really small projects, when we talk about that, then the way you make money in these projects is you got to figure out how the community will typically respond. Because if you invest 100% in line with the community all the time, you're going to be a loser eventually. unless the whole project, every facet of the project can go, go, go and never end. But a lot of these small projects, most businesses fail. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, most legitimate businesses in the real world fail. 90 something percent of businesses fail. So if you know that 90 something percent of businesses fail, then you have to ask yourself, crypto projects are basically businesses in most cases. So 90% are going to fail just because most businesses fail. But when you add in the aspect of crypto projects, a lot of developers don't even understand. Maybe they don't understand business, but not only do you have to understand business, you have to understand tokenomics. You have to understand game theory. You have to understand basic economics, which is amazing how many devs don't understand. If you increase your token supply, it drives the price down. No matter how high that APY is, eventually the price gets driven down faster than the APY can keep it up 100% of the time, emphatically, every single time, period, end of story. So that's always that makes crypto projects that much more risky because there's economics, there's tokenomics, there's game theory involved, and the idea of actually running a business. And that's from people who want to be good actors. Then you still got to deal with possible exploits on top of everything else from bad actors. So I mean, crypto is risky. Crypto is risky. So find out how people typically play the project, and then when people zig, you zag. When people zag, you zig. If everybody's buying it and the project's pumping, maybe that's a good time to sell some. It's okay. Yeah, if people knew it in Telegram or Discord, they're going to talk crap about you, but who cares? You're making a profit. They're still hoping for a profit in the future. You're making one if you're selling. You don't make a profit holding. You make a profit when you sell for profit. Specifically in the DGen space. Let's see. Who knows that Tether's backed by, but still. Who knows that Tether's backed by? Well, we do know Tether's not actually backed by much of anything. I mean, there's a great video on Tether. Hang on, nothing is fully decentralized. Yes, I don't understand. You keep saying that, pseudo geek. Nothing is fully decentralized. I don't understand how you mean or why you would say that. Warren Buffett, be greedy when others are fearful. I would be greedy if I had a few billion on the side like him. Yeah, but he didn't always have a billion on the side, Jude. That's the problem with that. I mean, Warren Buffett started with very little of nothing, like $100,000. I mean, that he raised from friends and family that he borrowed. Most of us would never be willing to do that. We're not that competent in our investing skills, nor are we willing to have the balls to invest other people's money the way that he did in the beginning. I have no problem with people being rich, and he's exactly right, by the way. Be greedy when others are fearful. I mean, that is right. You can do that with $100 and get ahead. You can do it with $1,000 and get ahead. I have no problem when people get wealthy in ways that are ethical. I have problems when they use their wealth to create unfair playing field, meaning they lobby congressmen, things like that, to get laws that favor them. For example, a great example, I didn't have a problem with the rise of Walmart. I had a problem when Walmart started manipulating the government, manipulating laws by having so much money they could get congressmen to write laws that favor them. That sucks. EMP, I haven't even paid attention to EMP today. Everything else is crazy. Let's go take a look. Let's see where we're at. 48. We're back below 50 on Luna. Man, this is going to be interesting. The next few days are going to be interesting. I didn't say good or bad. Some people are scared crapless right now. And I mean, I get it. I get it. It's going to get, oh, look at that. Trying to get a bounce. That UST is trying to come back. Is it going to come back? What's going to happen? Let's see. Max Chewy says, does Luna have DeFi or smart contracts or somewhere to invest? I just saw the price of Terra was down 45%. Max, go look at the last video I uploaded this morning. I show the easy way to buy Luna. There are protocols, Astro protocol, Mars protocol. There are yield farms and stuff like that as well in that ecosystem. Absolutely. Luna's down a lot. This thing was over $100. That's not Luna. Luna was over, where was it at? $117. I thought it was just, look, I put a buy in right there. Look at that. That was probably on Anchor. I was using it for anchor. But it's not showing my buy this morning. I put a buy in this morning as well. I wonder why it's not showing that. I've not sold any Luna either. I've just been buying it. Let's see. Luna. Gentlemen, if you're still here, do me a favor and smash that like button. Smash the like button. Okay, so Jason, the AUST is 123. What do you mean by converting to IST? You mean UST and then dumping? If you convert to UST, you don't really have an advantage from a conceptual standpoint. Decentralization. Todd says, I think pseudo geek possibly means that from a conceptual standpoint, decentralization is limited to the idiosyncrasies of the internet itself. Thinking of it as a militarized zone. Unlike stablecoins such as Tether's UST or Circle's USDC, UST is not governed by a centralized organization or backed by other assets. Well, arguably it's backed by Luna, but I understand what you're saying. Luna's not, the price of Luna moves at the rate in which it needs to provide the backing affects the price of Luna as well. But there's not an individual backing it. Correct. That is correct. No, Jason, if you swap AUST, so if you swap AUST to UST, you're thinking about Anchor Protocol. So an Anchor Protocol, it earns right now it's somewhere between 17 18% APY. The way that works is you take UST and you buy Anchor. So if just to try to keep it simple, if you had $1,000 of UST and you bought AUST, when you buy AUST, you still have $1,000 worth. So you would have less AUST. But what happens on AUST is it has an APY of 17 or 18% right now. It used to be 19 and 20%, but it has an APY. And the way that you earn that APY is the price of AUST consistently goes up over time. So when you convert back to UST, if UST is on peg anyway, it's going to be at whatever rate. It should be $1 close to it. When you convert back to UST, then you basically have additional earnings in UST because the price of AUST went up that APY, 18% APY or whatever. So when AUST launched, it launched at $1. And then over time, it's over a year old. So it's going up, significantly over that time period. Business below 20. That sucks. Pseudo Geek, instead it maintains its peg to the dollar through a mint and burn mechanism using the Terra ecosystem's governance token Luna. Yep, correct. And they're collateralizing it behind Bitcoin. Correct. That's the goal, which is interesting. That's part of the attack today because that's supposed to be taking place. That mechanism, was it tomorrow or the next day? Like it's close. So it's like these attacks are happening prior to that collateralization. Maybe, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's see. Let's go back to BTC. Wow. Did we go below? Wait a minute. So did we go below 30,000? Okay, we did not. That's going to be crazy if we did. That's wild. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. This has been fun. I wanted to hop on here and talk about what was going on. I've been wanting to do some live streams for a while, but this has been a lot of fun. I'm meaning to do this more often. I think we should do the cryptocurrency news in a live stream because then we get to talk about it and go back and forth and banter. And it's kind of fun. And quite honestly, this is my favorite content to talk about. Sorry, Arvidel, I can't say your name. Will you steal DCA to Piston for the Piston strategy, for my Piston strategy? Yeah, I don't know. I got to look at, so just so you know, I got to look at a few things and it's not necessarily Piston because the whole market's down right now. So to just kind of recap part of my thesis, oftentimes my investing strategy, if you will, and I actually may do a whole video on this at some point, um, or create a course or something. But the whole idea behind when I invest is I try to invest a certain amount in various projects, and I that number has a little bit to do with risk, and it has a little bit to do with the length of time I plan to be in the project. But what it has to do with more than anything is diversification. And when I see the whole market dropping like this, I like to move funds into Apex, what I call Apex assets, assets that are, I believe, are going to do well no matter what. Piston was a short term play anyway. It is a short term play anyway. The challenge that I have right now, what makes hard with Piston is it's like I really think, do you sell, do you hold, or do you buy more? Right? I I'm close to what I wanted to have in there invested in the USD value, but I could still DCA in. The problem is, I think there are projects that, you know, long term are going to do much more well. And long term, right now, well, I shouldn't even say long term. In the next 30, 60, 90 days, there are projects that I have a higher degree of confidence may do better. Now, the thing about Piston is it's volatile. It's just is what it is. This thing, if all of a sudden the market starts doing better, that thing could pop really hard. I don't like that the price is being dragged down right now, because I typically those ROI type projects, and that project is pretty new. Typically, those projects will do well in early stages, but I think just the overall market is tanking so hard. People get nervous when the market starts tanking. So people are like, "Oh, crypto's a hedge." Even Raul Powell, the video I showed you guys earlier of that gentleman, like I love his whole content, and the guy's got a high IQ that's way higher than mine. But he always talks about crypto being this long-term hedge against inflation. And my response to that is, yeah, it's so long term, it's not even effective right now. Because right now, if inflation continues to be as bad as it is now, people are going to need money to pay bills and to buy groceries. Literally, I mean, if we do hit double-digit inflation, most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and the government stops sending out stimulus for people's kids, which has to happen at some point, you would think. Then people are going to sell assets. They're going to sell stocks. They're going to sell crypto for sure because they need other necessities in their life. Most people are, they FOMO'd in too deep anyway. And if you guys hear Wealth was selling his crypto assets to withdraw US dollars, you just know that there is an emergency of biblical proportions in my life, because I've never ever wanted to put myself in that position, because you make money when the market's low. Like theoretically, we all want to be buyers right now, even though it's hard to buy it because you're like, oh, what's going to succeed? All of a sudden, it feels like everything's doing bad. But what were the projects you thought were going to be good 5-year, 10-year holds, back December of last year, January of this year? What were those projects? Did anything fundamentally change with those projects? Do you have too much money in crypto? If you do, maybe you just need to sell too and get out, at least take part of it out. But if not, then it's like, what do I buy now? Well, you buy the thing that you have conviction on. And if you don't have conviction in a bear market, then you have to ask yourself, was my conviction real? All right. I don't mean to be preaching. I gotta go. Let me see. Will you DCA in the piss? Okay, I already said that. Jude said, please do. I think that was related to the cryptocurrency news. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I like those topics. Quick question: what do you think of Lightning Network? I don't know. I'm I mean, it adds a layer of centralization, at least what I understand about it. I don't understand enough about it. I've looked at a couple of videos on the Lightning Network. I don't understand enough about it. What I think would be cool is if there's multiple Lightning networks, and there's a lot of easy ways to sidechain Bitcoin to keep transactional costs down, and let the free market sort of decide. Kind of maybe I don't know. Piston will be like drip. I don't know what you mean by that. If you mean the price dropping, yeah, 100% eventually. The question is, how long is the life cycle? I mean, drip is gonna die. I mean, 100% just based on tokenomics. Even I sold Piston at break even after your newsletter and your thoughts on Link. You sold Piston. I was buying it on that newsletter. But I love that you did something different. Like that's freaking awesome. Like you saw something I put out, you agreed, disagreed, or made you aware of something that you didn't like and maybe I did like. Like I freaking love that. That's awesome. I don't have any real thoughts on Link. I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, Link's a lot of people don't like. Anyway, there's some things that people don't like about Link. The challenge with Link right now is it's necessary. I mean, so much of DeFi relies on Link or similar pricing oracles. My thoughts on Algorand. I wish it would come back because I had some funds on it. Nothing major, but my thoughts on Algorand. I don't know what I think about Algorand. They've been making a lot of changes lately, and I haven't kept up with them because when I first read about the changes, I didn't like them. The other thing that I think about Algorand is there was an article 6 or 8 months ago. The thing that was most interesting is Algorand was basically lobbying the U.S. government to try to be the chain that they did their digital dollar, government digital dollar on. I thought that was interesting. I didn't like it. I mean, personally, I don't want a centralized digital currency through the U.S. government, but I figured it would pump Algorand if that actually ever happened. Render token is the future. I've heard people talk about Render. I don't know enough about it. Just joining you guys. Do we need to worry about our UST holdings? Well, UST's dropping again. This stuff is unreal. Wow, this is unreal. This is unreal. Where's Luna? This is unreal. Like, we are watching crypto history. People will be, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. You are a crypto OG. A year, 2 years, 3 years from now, no matter what happens, people will talk about the day that UST lost his peg. Good or bad. Well, no matter what happens here, people will be talking about this. That's how you become an OG. You live through this stuff. You have wisdom going forward. And if it recovers, next time you'll be like, we've seen it recover before. This project may recover because, this stablecoin might recover or whatever. Or you think it's probably going to collapse like UST did if that's what happens. So congratulations. I was here, Gabriel said. Absolutely. CBDCs, we talked about that. CBDCs, I think they're going to be here the next 5 years for sure. I actually thought they may already be here because if you don't know this, when the very first stimulus that went out, there was a bill by the Democrat side of politics in the U.S. There was a section in that bill before it got revised, and I don't know who took it out either. I don't know if it was someone else on the Democrat side, the Republican side, or what, but there was a section in that bill where they wanted the $600 stimulus. I think that was the very first stimulus. They wanted that paid out in a digital dollar, and of course it didn't happen. But when I saw that, I was like, holy crap, I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe that someone had the balls to actually put that in a draft of a law in the U.S. already. I didn't realize we were that far into this. But one of the last articles I read about central bank digital dollars, they're talking about not even using a blockchain at all. They're talking about using like e-cash. In other words, literal video game money. That's the worst possible option. Zach, you were here. All of you were here. Yep, we were here at this moment in history. We are the OGs. So, do we know if UST will recover? Riff, do me a favor. Send me over your crystal ball. Let me know. None of us have a crystal ball. We can only guess. We can only wonder. We can only, make educated guess. My confirmation bias is yes, it's going to go up. I'm an investor. Sure, I think it's going to come back. I bought some today. Sure, but that's my bias. What's your bias? What do you think? You have to make that decision. Not financial advice because somebody's going to take it that way, for God's sakes. All right, let's go. Let's take a quick look at. Oh, no, that's what I was going to do. 47. That's going to get interesting. I'm going to be good, I think, until we get to about 25. I think I'll be good until then. How will CBDCs help in foreign exchange in India? I don't know. I don't really care about it. I don't really care about CBDCs. I hope they don't exist, but they probably will. We will see 80s and then oh wow, Gabriel, if we see 80s, oh geez. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been awesome. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We got to do this again. Do me a favor in the live chat. If you want to do this again, just let me know or go to the comments, either one. Smash the like button for being here, first of all, but go to the comments on the video and just type, I want another live chat, just so I can get an idea of if you guys enjoyed this, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, or whatever.